What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. Phantom Revenge pre-sales are up, and my sponsors are gonna love me on this one. I'm only really looking at one card. I do think Cool Tune is very good, but we're entering a chilly winter market, and I think only 1 to 2 of them will end up being the big bucks, and the rest will fall out. So pre-sales isn't the best place to usually shop that, unless you're making your call of what's going to be expensive in the archetype. And when we look over at what's recently happened, we had one of the best sets of all time, and it's fallen out. This is where Yu-Gi-Oh's at. Not a card above $60, even in the highest rarity, with hype buyouts on K9 Versus coming back on top. And then Draco Tail is super fun. Yummy is a solid deck. Yu-Gi-Oh's playing well, and people are praising how it's playing after the emergency ban list. Cupsy over here is like $3 after all the hype. Remember, after Tripswise, yes, it even spiked in price. When we look at the higher rarities, they're actually at where pre-sale prices were sitting, more so on some of those cards. Like Cupsy here, the collector rare, is $12. So when it comes down to it, I don't blame Tier 0 or Gamer's Choice pricing how they are. They have to order X amount from Konami to keep in good standing and get future products. So they're priced, if you actually do the estimated value chop up pull, not to really profit, but to try to break even versus logistics of shipping and fees, discount codes. They're priced up. You add up these two deck cores and they're not even at 400. They're barely over with this. And how many deck cores are they going to get in the entire box? Like 1.5 or something, not even to 2. Yeah, the math is terrible on these side sets. They need a great restructure. But yeah, if you want to make your call on the Cool Tunes and what's going to be good in there, that's where I would shoot my shot, because you might remember with crossover breakers, we did see the ability for high-priced cards and a lot of these to come up and really maintain some value. But when it comes to actually what happened over here in Justice Hunters, Yu-Gi-Oh's just been downhill. So you're betting that a set where Konami's super greedy like Wild Survivors and doing 7 ultras for the main archetype to try to lift some value into it, along with the one card I want to watch, which is generic. Well, yeah, I think that it's just not a great look. So the main card I'm looking at is Incraft. It's a little more expensive on Tier 0 than Gamer's Choice. So if you're in the US, you probably want to order from Gamer's Choice for this card. Again, you can use the discount code to support the channel directly on either site. But if you're somewhere like Brazil and your imports get all gunked up and Yu-Gi-Oh cards get super expensive over there, and that's why you use these sites, Killer Tune and this might actually be for you, and it's a great resource for it. So why am I looking mainly at this card? Well, it's the genericness of it. You can reveal this card in your hand, special summon 1 monster from your hand in face down defense position. You cannot special summon the turn you activate this effect, except in face down defense position. When your opponent activates a card or effect on the field during your turn, quick effect, you can change this set card to face up defense position, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. If this card is flipped face up, change all monsters your opponent controls to face down defense position. Monsters changed this way by this effect can't change their battle positions. So yeah, I shorthanded some of that, but overall that's what it does, and I think it's a really good card on paper. How it will actually pan out versus its restriction, I'm not too sure. I imagine you could like play this in something like trap deck, right? Like you're looking at Labyrinth and you're going to set this up turn 1 and have all your lab stuff do its stuff in the following turn. Makes a ton of sense, right? Like this card is just that powerful on its own and would lend itself in there, I imagine. But that's why I think this is the card to watch whenever something super generic like that, to a degree, where every single card deck, purple cards, are going to be looking at it. Yeah, I think that's something to actually watch and can end up, especially in a box that's like toxic, that loses value, that isn't going to do too good long term. It's probably the card to watch and maybe go ahead and buy on pre-sales. I think it still could fall out from here though, so you're gambling with how it's set up and how the sets have gone. We've seen a lot of cards go down, but generic cards that can lend themselves to multiple decks, That's where my eyes would be. And then there's Cool Tune, which can act really well with other decks depending on what they are. And I do think you should probably make your pick. But look, that's why they have it spread out this way when you're not buying the deck core. 20, 20, 20, 20. Yeah, they can't all probably maintain that price. So they're not playing the guessing game. They're just trying to play the spread and break even on the set. I don't blame them for it, but again, that makes it your job kind of to do that, and do you think any of them will be above 20? That's the gamble you have to decide if you're taking. I want to show you something else when considering the set. Not a single collector rare on the market, at least that I'm aware of, correct me if I'm wrong, is above $100. After Perulia's reprint, it has fallen, and some of the OG nosebleed ones like Stardust Dragon here, or even Blackluster Soldier, fallen from grace, and look, it's going up right now a bit, except it's not. Lowest first edition, $60. It's fallen off bad. People just don't believe in collector rares anymore because of Starlights and QCRs being the higher rarity and getting stamped on the same card. Like, why do I want the collector rare anymore? Heck, some collector rares have been collector rared. When it comes down to that, like Baroness, it's ridiculous. So collector rare has fallen out bad. I don't think I necessarily would be poking at too many of those. But again, if you're inclined to gamble, you can go for that. So Starlight rare, highest rarity is more where my mind is. And with Cool Tune, it could end up like some of the crossover breakers instead of Justice Hunters. But you're still playing that game of, well, which one? Because what are most of the Starlights here? A Cool Tune 1, Cool Tune 2, Cool Tune 3, Cool Tune 4, Cool Tune 5. Weird. And then we get the collector rare here for the Incraft, and you have a Hecka Hands here finally. And that's the final archetype, which doesn't seem like the worst. Maybe I'm underestimating it a bit. We'll have to wait and see. But Hecka Hands definitely will be more budget than Killer/Cool Tune. Oh no, they said Killer Tune instead of Cool Tune over here. Uh-oh, tier 0. Oh, get the nun police on them. But seriously, when it comes down to this, I think that it's just not gonna do the best. Like, it's another product where the side sets are suffering, and no matter how game-changing they are or what's going on with the game, it might heat up back during the spring WCQ season, but here during the winter season, I just can't fathom their prices really pushing all that much higher. So your opportunity cost versus FOMO versus how you could be spending your money on Black Friday on deals and that kind of stuff, I just don't see these pre-sales as a great place to go unless you really think that the Incraft is going to take off, or if you want to gamble on which killer tunes are going to end up on top and that they'll actually beat $20 when Yummy couldn't do it, when Draco Tail couldn't do it, and currently K9 started that way, right? Like, yeah, $50 Izunas. Woo, the set has some money. Where's Izuna now? Even after the hype of the YCS and rebounding, it's rebounding from $12 to $15. So it had a time where it was up there and people were, going for pieces of the box. You could see some cool tunes do that, right? But again, you're picking and choosing 20 to gamble on 30 versus some of those deeper discounts, guaranteed values, and that kind of stuff. So I know my sponsors are going to love me for this video, but main thing to look at, in my opinion, is the Incraft, and even then, I think that's pretty restrictive on a generic card. And then trying to figure out what Killer/Cool Tune you think is money. Not a great position to be in. Yeah, it's just where Yu-Gi-Oh's at until we get frame breaks and serialized and see how Konami implements it and hope they don't fumble, because it's starting to feel a little Yu-Gi-Oh! Doomery again for me. People are already saying, oh great, a $35 box again, before this set's even out. And that's where people are at mentally with the game. And you can see that the vendors are pricing it up that way too. And side sets used to be juice. They used to be, even if they were bad, they were money. If you go look through Yu-Gi-Oh! History when they were all foil side sets. Konami needs to look at a broken model that wasn't broken ever this one's broken, but they need to go look at the side set model that was not broken, that was very good throughout time, very few failed, like Fist of the Gadgets, which even pulled itself up by the bootstraps eventually. They need to go look at all foil side sets, what they had with that, and then apply some modern things to it. But I'm ranting at this point. Video's supposed to be about pre-sales, and you can see how the vendors have priced it up. You can do the math yourself. And yeah, I think that for the most part, your money is better spent on Black Friday unless you want some specific cards, or you live in a place like Brazil where you need to get your cards early if you want to have them at all.